What's going on, Next Year Nation? Thanks again for tuning in. We have another very, very special guest here. I want to welcome in New York Times bestselling author Jeff Pearlman. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on to the pod today. We really appreciate it.
And I didn't want to do this, but then you showed me that you read my book and you actually held it up. So how could I say no to this? What am I going to do?
Absolutely. So, Jeff, thank you very much. One of the things that we connected on it as a mutual that I saw is we're both University of Delaware grads. So, go Hens, I guess, right?
So give me where were your hangouts when you were in Newark, Delaware?
Yeah. So, I mean, Grotto's was the spot, right?
Yeah.
So Klondike Kate's, of course. And then the day drinks, the dages, and all that stuff. It was a good time. But
yeah, although I got to say, like you were raised in New York,
from Long Island, New York. Yep.
Yeah. So how can you actually rave about Grotto's pizza?
I know exactly.
It's actually a little bit disappointing to hear that.
I didn't get the pizza there. I never actually tried the actual. It was more, we would go there for, it was like the bar. We would go there, to get some drinks.
Okay, because I wasn't sure I was going to be able to continue this if you were going to rave
No.
about Grotto's. It's like the people.
Yeah.
I live in California now, and the people who say that Costco pizza is like the way to go, I'm like, come on.
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous. No, Grotto's actually. I guess I don't know, when you were a student there. Was it the bar that people went out to like have on a Friday night? I mean, that's what Grotto's was.
Oh,
okay.
So when I was there, it was you had three: Kate's, which I think it still exists. You have Deer Park, and Stone Balloon, which I know does not exist, but the Stone Balloon was a big one.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that wasn't a popular one for us. It was Grotto's and Kate's and Deer Park. Those were the big three.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, really appreciate it. And one of the things I saw about when you were at Delaware, it's kind of how you started your writing journey with the review. So can you speak to a little bit about that? I saw you started writing about the lacrosse team, and they sort of kicked you out there, and you kind of wrote back. And can you walk me through a little bit about your moments there and starting out, and how you motivated yourself to keep going right there?
Yeah, so I was an unjustifiably cocky little asshole at the University of Delaware, and I showed up and I thought I was going to be like the greatest writer ever, and blah blah blah. And the student newspaper was called The Review, and you couldn't write as a freshman, but I was like, I'm going to write as a freshman, because I had clips from my local newspapers I wrote from the summer, and I showed up, and they actually let me write a little, but I was so insufferably cocky. I didn't take editing. I didn't want to listen to anyone. That one day the sports editor, the late Josh Putterman, asked to meet with me and told me nobody at the newspaper wanted me writing there anymore. And I got fired. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to transfer. Like all I want to do is be a journalist. And I just got fired from the student newspaper as a freshman. So I wrote this very apologetic letter that apparently they read to the whole staff, and they let me back. And my first beat was actually lacrosse as a freshman. I covered men's lacrosse. Delaware used to have a really good program. And, I spent 4 years writing for the student newspaper. Really, my big not claim to fame, but my thing at Delaware, my biggest moment was Delaware and Delaware State never played in any sports when I got there. They didn't play at all. And I don't know why. I was totally fascinated by this. Why they're both 1AA. They're 45 minutes apart, but they don't play in any sports. So I did this whole story, and had a lot of people saying the big white school doesn't want to play the small black school, which I actually think was kind of true, that they did, and I wrote this article, and they wound up playing. Like a couple weeks after the article came out, the two schools agreed to play. And that was where I really learned the power of you can actually make a difference. You can write something and it has real world effects. So Delaware was hugely important to me.
Wow. And I guess, what was your initial reaction when this was all happening in real time? I mean, what was going through your head, like when you wrote this letter? I mean, do you even remember kind of what you wrote in that apology letter? And I guess getting back there and writing this article, Delaware versus Delaware State, like what was really going through your head as this was all kind of unfolding?
I don't remember what I wrote in the letter. I just knew it was sad and pathetic, and really I'm sorry, I really screwed up, and which was true. And I wish it humbled me. It really didn't humble me as much as it should have. I was still really cocky and kind of a douchebag. But I don't, the thing is, It's funny because whenever I see people my age who were my age at the time, whenever I see people now who are like 21, 22, and they're really cocky and I'm the best writer and blah blah blah. I'm always like, don't be that guy. Please don't be that guy. I can tell you I'm the ghost of Christmas future. Like, don't be that guy. Like it's not, it doesn't really end well. And you're making your path so much harder. And the thing I always tell people, young people, is I'm like, nobody my age, nobody likes the cocky young guy. Like
Right,
nobody likes that. They like the deferential young guy. They like the guy who wants advice, the guy who listens, the guy who, is graceful and gracious. So
right.
I did learn a lot from the experience, but it was a hard, hard road for me.
Now, when they gave you the lacrosse team, was that a choice you made, or like did you know you wanted to start writing about sports, or that was just the one thing they handed to you and you said, "All right, I'm going to do with this what I can."
Well, I didn't know. I can't. I grew up in Mahopac, New York, which you might have heard of. And Mahopac was a really good lacrosse for high school lacrosse team. But I didn't know anything about lacrosse. I hadn't played it. I didn't cover it. I just knew I wanted to write sports.
Got it.
So they gave me a beat. Nobody else wanted to do it. I was happy
Yeah.
to do it. I'm sure my articles sucked. Like I've seen a couple of them looking back up. They were terrible, but it was you have to be terrible to learn how to be better than terrible.
Absolutely. Do you have copies of those old articles kept somewhere framed up as, this is my first ever kind of published ones?
Definitely not framed, but I have like
Yeah.
in my garage, I have these big bins of old binders. One of these days I'm just gonna get rid of them because it's kind of
Yeah.
ridiculous and they take up a lot of space. But I used to save every article I wrote and I put it in by every single one and I put them in these photo albums.
Mhm.
And I probably have about 40 photo albums somewhere in the garage with all my articles through the Sports Illustrated time of my life.
Got it. And
Mhm.
one of the things I was curious is, you've written so many different biographies on different athletes, and what's something, I guess, from your perspective that fans consistently sort of misunderstand about some of these athletes, and what would you say to that?
I think the biggest thing is the insecurity. Like so many of us, I mean, I live out here in Southern California and the sports, the whole like my kid needs to play college baseball
Mhm.
sort of thing is crazy out here. And people hiring private tutors and paying $2,000 for that bat and paying $1,000 for that glove. And the kid specializes in one sport. They don't play three sports anymore. That whole thing, right? And like, number one, reaching the majors is impossibly hard. Number two, staying in the majors is impossibly hard. The average guy who makes the majors does not last in the majors long. And the NFL is even worse. The average career is like 2.3 years, right?
Yeah.
People do not understand. You're always looking over your shoulder. The franchise is always looking to replace you. People think about Lamar Jackson and Tom Brady and like super duper stars, but the average grunt is always on the verge of being replaced by someone else. I think people really overlook the insecurity of it all. And the other thing, and I've had this talk with a bunch of athletes, is just because you play for the Dodgers doesn't mean your life is happier than the dentist, like, or the
Interesting.
plumber or the electrician. I just think people think playing in X big league makes you happy, means happiness for your kid. It's
Mhm.
just not how it works. Like a lot of times athletes are the most miserable people. Some of them are glowingly happy, but a lot of them are also miserable and insecure. It's just life.
Yeah, no, interesting. And I think this touches on another similar subject I've heard you talk about, where a lot of these, when they become pro athletes, and even when they have a lot of successful moments as an athlete, they might win a championship. They still feel this emptiness inside, like they're just not happy. I mean, what can you speak to maybe some of those moments you've heard from different times where that sentiment has come, and why do you think that athletes sometimes express that sort of sentiment?
Well, the most obvious one for me is when the Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl and Walter Payton was their star.
Yeah,
I'm avoiding my dog. That's why I keep moving.
it's okay.
Um, and she's not looking at me sad. The Chicago Bears win the Super Bowl, and you would think, what this is Walter Payton. Walter Payton's a star of the Bears, should be the glowing moment of his career, and instead he's in the locker room in the Superdome in New Orleans, hiding in a broom closet, heartbroken and devastated. Um, and it's like, I think there's a factor with a lot of. I think it's like any of us, like whatever you have a big moment. I remember. All right, I remember when I had my bar mitzvah, right,
Yeah.
in 1985. I swear to God, I'm not exaggerating this. I remember it being over, and my first thought was, or it was like wrapping down. I'm sitting in the Mount Kisco Holiday Inn, and I'm like, oh, so like all that work, and this is it. Like that's it. Like I'm sure you've had things like that too, where you're like, oh, that's
My
it.
yeah, my bar I have my that same kind of feeling at my bar mitzvah too. I know what you mean.
Right. Like all that Hebrew study
Yeah,
and all those really boring and that's it. And that's kind of what Walter Payton had when he and I remember when the Angels won the World Series years ago, and I was in the clubhouse afterwards. And there was one guy in particular named Sal Fasano, who was a catcher with the Angels, who I knew pretty well. And Sal hadn't been with the Angels very long, but everyone's celebrating, and he didn't really know where to go. He didn't know the team well. He hadn't been with the team very long, and he was genuinely happy to see me, a familiar face in the clubhouse.
mhm,
And it's just like there are these ideas that like you're Sam Darnold, you just won the Super Bowl. How happy are you? This is amazing. But it's still like we're limited by human emotions that we can only be so it can only be so much. I don't
right.
know. I just think people think like, oh, all your dreams have come true. Everything's amazing. I'm going to Disney World. I mean, look at Kenneth Walker. They win the Super Bowl. He has these great moments, blah, blah, blah. And then he joins another team. He signs as a free agent, and now he's on to the next thing. It's just kind
Yeah,
of it just is. Life is.
yeah, absolutely. And I've heard like Tom Brady. When I think of this theme, I think of people like Tom Brady and Shaquille O'Neal that have achieved so much in their careers as athletes, but they still go on to be announcers and owning franchises and doing all these cool things. So it's just super inspirational to see people in that sense, live their I call it the forever next year mindset of always on to that next thing, always on to that next chapter.
The athletes I actually admire the most, to be honest with you, are the guys who retire. And I know this is not a slap at Tom Brady or Shaquille O'Neal. I really admire the athletes who they do their thing and then they just go back to like culinary school or they
Yeah,
go and they become a firefighter or whatever. I think like it's not like your life goes on,
right.
like you win the Super Bowl, you have the moment, you have the trophy, you put it on the shelf, you get your ring, you have your parade, and then you still got to eat the next day and you still got to do something. And it's not like you live on a cloud for the rest of your life.
Exactly. No, for sure. One of the other things I wanted to talk about with you was just fandom and the psychology behind a sports fan. And I know there's nobody better to talk about that with you because of, all your experiences and why. I guess let's talk about the Mets and the Jets particularly.
Mm.
Grew up was born into being a diehard Jets and Mets and Knicks fan. And I'm always so curious about why, like me and all the rest of the fans, we keep showing up year after year, and it's like we just have this blind faith that one day things are all going to get better. So I guess from your perspective, why can you talk about the sports psychology behind that? Why you think fandom is so strong for these teams that don't that continue to let us down?
So the only team through the years that I've continued to care about are the Jets,
Okay,
right?
yeah,
And I'm obviously older than you, so I've had just a ridiculous level of really terrible football, really
yeah,
terrible decisions, etc. So like why do people like you and I stick with the Jets, right?
right,
I think part of it is the tribal sort of inclinations of sports where like you're part of a group and all right, we're part of this group and you wouldn't leave your group. It's like being we're Jewish, right? So like you're
right,
not tomorrow for the most part, you're not going to be like, no, I'm actually
yeah,
even if I'm not very religious, but I'm still
yeah,
like
yeah,
Jewish, it's part of
yeah,
the group I'm in, right?
right,
I think that's a big part of it. I also think like there's something we'll go Jet fans in particular here.
yeah,
I think there's something Jet fans, some admit, some don't, which is you're going to disagree, but in a way, it's more fun being miserable. Like in a way, it's fun complaining about the oh, Geno Smith, seriously, he's back. Like, what? Like I wouldn't know what to do with my hands if we got Lamar Jackson in a trade. Like I wouldn't know what to do.
Doesn't
And I
even
think
sounds fake. Yeah,
yeah, it's kind of like my I used to have a grandfather who always complained about everything. And it
mhm,
kind of became his thing. Like he always complained about everything. Nothing was going right, everything. And I think he got enjoyment out of that in hindsight. And I think in a way, like there's some enjoyment in the bond over rooting for a really bad team. I think
right.
Browns fans know it, Jets fans know it, Lions fans know it. Like I just think there is. What would we do? Honestly, if the
Right.
Jets started rolling off Super Bowls
I
and we were like this
I don't
dynasty,
know.
I mean, it wouldn't even seem right. It wouldn't even seem right, you know? So I think part of it is honestly, there's a bonding in being terrible that I think is very real and weirdly enjoyable in a mental disorder kind of way.
That's really funny. I mean, that's what misery loves company, for that whole phrase. And I
Yeah.
think that's really, as this kind of thing has started to evolve for me, that's really the emotion I'm tapping into. And forever next year, I'm hoping gives an identity for fans of the Jets, the Browns, the Raiders. Like the idea is that I'm going to expand beyond New York, and forever next year can live in next year nation. But that's
The
kind of my
funny thing
idea.
is, like, Raider fans don't belong in that group, though. Like, I know Raider fans are like, "Oh, it's so hard being a Raider fan." I'm like, "Try being a Jet fan." Like,
Exactly.
I
But
always say my line to every bad fan is like, whenever someone's like, I don't know, the Yankees haven't won a World Series, and try being a Jet fan. That's what I always say.
exactly,
Try being a Jet fan.
exactly. But you'd be surprised if you go on Instagram, you see all the posts about people poo-pooing the Jets and clowning on them. If you go to the comments, you'll see comments saying, Raiders fans, we have it hard. Browns fans. So
Yeah,
there is this sentiment from other fan bases, but absolutely, like Jets
yeah.
fans, like you and I, we by far have the worst.
Wait, don't
Um,
you think it's interesting how we know our team won't be good next year? Like,
right.
we're
We're already
not gonna.
talking about next year. We're already talking about the draft,
Oh,
and
that's
man,
crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Like,
yeah,
they have literally told Jet fans, "You will not be good next year." Just so you know, Geno Smith is gonna be your quarterback next year. And people are like, "Well, it could, blah, blah, blah." But, like, it's not like, "Well, it could work out and we can make the playoffs." It's like, "Well, it might be okay and they might win 7." Like,
right.
that's basically what it is. They might win 7. If Geno is as good as he was in Seattle, they might win 7 games. Could happen.
At most, exactly.
Yeah.
Who knows? I want to talk a little bit about the book that I brought up, that I said I was given as a gift, and I also got this from my dad as a gift, and we really loved it. He also loved your Dave Kingman video as well,
Oh,
so I
funny.
want to make sure I brought that
Funny.
up. But
Thank you.
I want to talk a little bit about the '86 Mets and kind of your perspective in writing this book. I mean, what was kind of the coolest part for you about writing this book, and the most memorable kind of moment and learning experience you had from it?
Well, I mean, it was my first book. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was covering baseball at Sports Illustrated at the time, so I had a lot of access to baseball. Um, what was really cool about that book is it was diving back into my childhood. Like, it felt like a dive into my childhood. Like, all these players I was interviewing were the guys I was watching on TV when I was a kid. So sitting down with Keith Hernandez and sitting down with Gary Carter and Kevin Mitchell and all these different guys, Ray Knight, it's like it it was very immersive. Like, I
Mhm.
didn't grow up rooting for the Lakers, so writing the Laker books has been fun, but I didn't grow up rooting for Lakers. Bo Jackson, it wasn't like I grew up diehard by Bo Jackson. The '86 Mets were a team I just absolutely loved. So it was really cool and really immersive. And I would say the moment there used to be a TV show called The Best Damn Sports Show, and it was my first national appearance promoting any book ever because it was my first book.
Mhm.
And I was supposed to be on the show with Lenny Dykstra and Ron Darling. And they flew me out to LA. So it was all a big deal for me. I was a young writer, fly me out to LA to appear in this national show. And the producer meets me and she says, Lenny's decided not to appear on the show. He's really mad about the book.
Mhm.
And in hindsight, I realized there's no way that guy read the book, but like he probably heard something and wasn't upset about it. So I was really rattled. And Ron Darling was going to be there. And I was like, oh, what's he going to say? And Ron Darling, I'd never met him in person, but I didn't read him on the phone. He sees me and he goes, Jeff, read the book. You absolutely nailed it. What a great job you did. And it was
Wow.
like such a relief. More than
Mhm.
anything, more than joy, it was just a relief. And that was probably my high was Ron Darling saying, you nailed it. I was like, all
Wow.
right, thanks. Yeah, I'm good. So,
And did you know he just called you out of the blue? Like you had no idea that was coming?
well, no, I literally saw him at the studio.
Oh, you saw him at the
We were
studio.
about to be on the TV show. It was going to be me, Dykstra, and Ron, but
I see.
Dykstra
Yeah.
didn't show up. So I didn't
Ah.
know. Yeah, I'd never met him in person
Oh,
until
you
he
never
said,
met him in person. Yeah.
no. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
So what do you think of are you still kind of have you been following the off season for the Mets, and what do you think of the thoughts on the upcoming season?
I mean, I follow them loosely, but not like I used to.
Yeah.
It's funny because I live out here in Southern California, and I feel with the Dodgers, it's the same way it was with the Yankees when I was covering baseball, where it's a little bit like like they signed Kyle Tucker. So
Right.
it's like, how is any of this fair? Like how can a team hope to compete with the Dodgers when they just sign absolutely everyone? So I think getting Biggio was a good addition. I think like
Yeah.
I don't trust their staff, but I think they have a decent lineup. I was sad to see Pete Alonso go because I just think like you don't get that many homegrown guys who are actually lovable who stick around for a long time. I think there's a real value in that the team organization undervalued a little bit. Just rooting interest and feeling like this is our guy. Um, but I don't like. I feel like all these teams are so far behind the Dodgers that it does remind me of the Yankees when it's like, why are the Twins even playing the Yankees? What is the point of this baseball game? It's
Right.
ridiculous. I don't know.
Right. I feel like it's MLB versus the Dodgers this year. I mean, the Dodgers have the biggest target on their back. So,
I mean, but I said to someone the other day, the beauty of baseball is like if you had to bet now and you could bet the Dodgers win the World Series or any other team wins the World Series, you'd probably bet any other team. And the
right.
cool thing about baseball is it is like, I mean, obviously certain teams the Marlins are not winning the World Series, but it is cool how like you do never know. And there are a
Mhm.
million X factors and the Padres could certainly surprise the Dodgers or the Mets could surprise. You just don't really know.
You never know. Yeah.
Mhm.
Jeff, one of the last points I want to talk about today. I want to get your take on sports storytelling and how that's kind of evolved from the time you were a writer at University of Delaware to where it is now. And how do you think that that's changed in this era of social media and hot takes and everybody trying to say the thing that gets the most viral attention? I mean, what do you think? How has sports storytelling really evolved over the years, and where do you think it's heading?
I mean, if you told me back at Delaware that on March 12th in the 8 o'clock in the morning, I'd be on this computer call with another
Yeah,
guy and we'd be talking blah blah blah. Like I'd be like, wait, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, what language are you speaking? Like
yeah,
things happen so gradually, and then one day you wake up and you're like, wow, this is completely and totally different than what I thought I was entering. The thing that makes me the most sad about it all is like, so for me, Sports Illustrated was always a dream. And it lived up to the dream, right? It actually lived up to the dream. And the dream was you get paid to travel the country writing about sports. And you show up at Dodger Stadium. You fly from New York to LA and you show up at Dodger Stadium and you need to do a story about Gary Sheffield. And Gary Sheffield is thrilled to talk to you because it's Sports Illustrated. It's a big magazine. He's thrilled to talk to the LA Times or the New York Times or the Washington Post. And you get time with them and you want to go, why don't we grab lunch? Oh, yeah, let's grab lunch. Like it was really immersive storytelling.
mhm,
And the one thing that happened with social media, I think a lot of people saw coming and they were correct, is the equivalent of Gary Sheffield now, whoever you want to say, Mike Trout or Shohei or whoever, like they don't need the reporter to come to town to tell their stories. They can tell the story they want to tell using their own social media feeds. And millions of people see that. So in fact, fewer people are going to read the Sports Illustrated now SI.com story or the ESPN.com story. And why would I even sit down and talk to you? Because I don't know what you're going to write about me. And I don't know
right,
who else you're talking to. So the problem is it leads to much less interesting information. And like Mike Trout will post some pictures of him with his wife and his kids at a picnic and get a million likes. Oh my God, that's so cool, Mike. It's so awesome. But what are you learning? What are you getting out of it? And
right,
I do feel like that mixed with the Stephen A. Smithification of sports media, where it's Stephen A. Tell us now what you think about Sam Darnold's return. Blah 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 blah. Stephen A. Now tell us what you think. It's like the era of no expertise but high volume,
interesting.
literally high volume voice. And I just think it's kind of. I know I've become like an old man. It's like, but it just doesn't entertain me. I just find it empty calories, a lot of empty calories.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I hear you. It is interesting to see. I mean, even in the last 10 years, how like media has evolved and how popular like certain shows and personalities have become. So
I mean, what year did you graduate from Delaware?
2020, so the COVID year. I didn't really technically have a graduation, but that was when I
Oh, that
graduated.
sucks.
Yeah,
But that sucks.
yeah,
Like when I was at Delaware, again, grandpa stuff here, but like you would walk into the scrounge, like the student union building, and you would see on days the student newspaper came out, you would see newspapers folded everywhere. You would see all the students reading the newspaper.
yeah,
Sure, they don't even print the thing anymore. And like I'm sure when you were there, it wasn't like didn't have that kind of presence. Like it was a different.
Yeah.
Your voice had something. Your voice had some oomph to it. It's just kind of a bummer.
Right. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, it's been a big pleasure having you on. I really appreciate your time, and thank you for all the insight onto the pod. And yeah, if you have any final words you want to say to us Jets, Mets, Knicks fans, of words of wisdom, or kind of some things we should take note from here, that'd be great too.
Jesus Christ, man. Stay away from guns and cliffs. I mean, there's no
There you go. There you
yeah.
go. All right. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Take care. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.